Namaste and welcome to Tridevi Chamunda Mandir in Denver, Colorado. This is Yamajit, and thank you so very much for joining me on our for Tuesday night satsang. Tonight is rather a special night, especially for those of you out there who may be followers of the neo-pagan traditions such as Wicca, as this is Beltaine Eve, also known as Walpurgisnacht, really the transition of spring into summer. And I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity to talk about the neo-pagan movement in the West and really its relations and its ties to more ancient tantric practices. And so I'm going to be sharing with you an excerpt from the final chapter of my third book, Kali Meditation, Book 3, Chamunda Sadhana. Before we begin the satsang, I've got a couple of announcements. So this coming Friday at 7 o'clock, it's the beginning of the month, so I'll be sharing with you another cha practice. And actually, this is one we've done before, the laughter of the Khandros, also known as the Dakini's laughter. This is a cha from the Bon tradition. And this particular method has a strong application for clearing space, for transforming negative or malevolent spirits and energies in a place, essentially transforming it from something that is wounded into something that is restored to health. And so I think you'll enjoy this kind of somewhat different cha practice. Last time I did this practice, it was all in English. Friday, I'll be doing it in both languages, English and its traditional Tibetan. So let's go ahead and go into our satsang. So again, this is from Kali Meditation, Book 3. And this is the section called A Modern Western Parallel. Margaret Alice Murray, 1863 to 1963, that's correct, she lived to be 100, was an eminent and respected anthropologist, archaeologist, and Egyptologist. In the 1920s, she began writing about her theories on the origins and organization of witchcraft as an ancient pagan religion predating Christianity. At that time, many of her colleagues ridiculed her work, yet today, some of her books and articles that she has written, including one for the Encyclopedia Britannica, have gained classical status among today's neo-pagans. Her works include The Witch Cult of Western Europe, published in 1921, The God of the Witches, published in 1933, and The Divine King in England, published in 1954. According to Murray, European witchcraft was a survival of a pre-Christian fertility religion. The central deities were a goddess of the earth and a god of nature, illustrated with horns and later mistaken as the Christian devil. In 1953, England repealed the last of its anti-witchcraft laws, the Act of 1743. Soon after, a man named Gerald Brousseau Gardner came forward and announced to the British press that he was a high priest of a surviving witch coven in the New Forest area of southern England. Gardner stated that he was initiated into this coven of elderly witches by its high priestess, one Dorothy Clutterbuck, also known as Old Dorothy. According to Gardner, his coven had joined with other English witches and performed a ritual designed to repel a Nazi invasion of Britain during World War II. This story remains a popular craft legend to this day. According to Murray and Gardner, witch covens consisted of a maximum of 13 members. They met in secret places, such as a forest, worshipped in the nude, and performed sexual rites known as the Great Rite, where a coven's leaders, a high priestess and high priest, acted the role of the earth goddess and the horned god, also known as the Lord and the Lady. In Wiccan mythology, the god is born, matures, copulates, and dies with the turn of the seasons. The goddess exists as the eternal governing principle of the universe. And I just want to stop here for a moment. Just in that orientation of masculine and feminine, dynamic and receptive, we see a parallel to Shakta Tantra, to goddess-centered Tantra, where the Purusha element, the governing principles of the universe, are ruled over by a feminine deity rather than a masculine one, and Prakriti, matter and energy, under the influence of those laws, a complete reversal from what we see in other Hindu traditions. Wiccan rituals involve the use of 4 elements: air, earth, fire, and water, sometimes a 5th, spirit. Participants meet in a circle, alternating male and female, and this is similar to the tantric Kaula chakra rite described in some scriptures. They invoke the powers of the 4 directions, perform water cleansing at the beginning of the rite, and share blessed food at the ritual's conclusion. Wiccan ritual implements bear many similarities to the instruments found in both Hindu and Buddhist Hindus, and I'm going to show you some examples. So the water pot, or kalesh, this is a rather ornate one, could be compared to the cauldron. The cup, such as this kapala, similar to the cup which is used in neo-pagan rites today. There's a ritual blade in neo-pagan rituals called the atame, which could be compared with instruments such as this purba from Nepal. Now, some people refer to the purba, which is an instrument which is masculine in nature. We can see a 3-headed masculine deity, Vajrakalaya, represented here. Sometimes it is associated with Lord Shiva. And some people refer to it as a ritual dagger, but really it's more like a stake designed to pin down and immobilize malevolent energies, or to bring down and establish benevolent energies into a ritual space. The purba can also be used to draw out negative energies during a healing. Similarly, especially in more goddess-centered traditions, we have the kartika, the flaying blade. This is the blade of the dakinis. And good evening to Mary and Kim, who are joining right now, and anybody else who happens to be tuning in. Please feel free to say hello using the chat function. Neo-pagan rituals utilize the wand, very similar to this Katvanga skull staff, which I talked about last week with our discussions on Machinamasta and also the related dakinis. So again, a staff for directing energies. And then the Wiccan pedicle, or is very similar in nature. The yantra, this surface that can be meditated upon and offerings can be placed upon as well. This is actually a variation of the Sri Yantra, which I've used for a very long time. Anyway, back to our reading. And then when we think of the deities in neo-Paganism, the horned god and the goddess, they bear a strong resemblance to images of Yama and Yami, or Yama and Chamunda. We see Yama here with the head of a buffalo, or Shiva and Shakti. And sometimes the moon in Shiva's hair very much resembles a pair of horns. Both Hinduism and Wicca use incense and perfume oils, use candles or oil flames or ghee flames, employ bells and other noisemakers, practice meditation, believe in karma and reincarnation. Modern Wiccans practice chakra healing and meditation. The mantra Om is also very popular. Both practice rites involving possession of a deity. This could include the Wiccan rite of drawing down the moon, drawing down the sun, channeling of the Lord and the Lady, or the Kalinak rite in Nepal, where a priest is possessed with the consciousness of Ma Kali. Some puja rites include the invocation of deities in 8 directions, similar. That would include the Dikpalas, the gods of the 8 directions. Wiccan rites typically invoke the 4 directions, though the Wiccan calendar, the wheel of the year, is illustrated as an 8-spoked directional wheel. Shakta Hinduism views the all-encompassing divine force as feminine. So, for example, Kali animates Shiva, who is in the form of a corpse when she steps upon him. Both Eastern Tantra and Wicca can incorporate sexual rites, either literal or symbolic. And it's important to note here that the sexual side of Tantra is really just one facet of a collection of different practices. There are those who follow tantric traditions who are celibate, for example. In addition to the triads of goddesses mentioned earlier in this volume, so in this particular work, I mentioned the 3 main forms of Kali in Kathmandu, and also 3 forms of the goddess for creation, preservation, and destruction. So Sarasvati, Lakshmi, and Kali or Durga. The Wiccan goddess is often illustrated as in a triple form: maiden, mother, and crone. What we know of the actual pre-Christian rituals in ancient Europe are quite different than modern Wicca. Based on archaeology and the writings of ancient historians, such as the Roman Tacitus, the ancient rites seem to have been more shamanic and sacrificial in nature, which leads to one possible conclusion. Wicca seems more Eastern than Western. And so here are some facts that go with this. Again, there's little archaeological or historical evidence to verify Murray's and Gardner's claims, which exists very highly open to other interpretations. Margaret Murray, interestingly enough, was born in Calcutta, India, and spent her early life there. Gardner's first high priestess, Dorothy Clutterbuck, was also born in British India. Gerald Gardner spent much of his life working as an agricultural inspector for the English civil service in India, Ceylon, and Malaysia. He was author of the book Chris and Other Malay Weaponry, which was, by the way, was the definitive book on that subject for many years. He retired to the New Forest area in the 1930s and became involved in Rosicrucianism, co-masonry, nudism, occultism, neo-Druidism, and he was also involved in Aleister Crowley's OTO, the Order Temple Orientalis, and he most likely knew Crowley personally. Much of Wiccan ritual mechanics are based on Western ritual magic, whose origins can be traced to Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and alchemy. Think the Greater Key of Solomon. Draft copies of Gardner's developing rituals have been found, dating from 1939 to the mid-1950s. Much of the material seems to have been influenced by Margaret Murray's writings, Western ritual magic, and a largely fictional work from the late 19th century called Aradia, the Gospel of the Witches, by Charles Godfrey Leland. Though the author of a respected book on Malay weaponry, Gerald Gardner dishonestly claimed to have had a doctoral degree from the University of the Punjab, which he never earned. The Tantric Kaula sexual rite, Kaula meaning fellowship, involves couples personifying Shiva and Shakti, meeting outdoors, and setting in an arranged circle or chakra. So this leads to my hypothesis regarding the origin of modern Wicca and neo-Paganism. This is an idea that came to me years ago when I was living in Kuwait after my first pilgrimage to India. The early members of Gardner's coven seem to have been members of a nudist club in which he belonged. His first ritual notes involve initiatory rites of 3 degrees, like those of the OTO and also forms of Freemasonry. Scourging was part of these rites and may have had an erotic significance. The 3rd degree initiatory rite and the Great Rite also could involve ritualized sex. Gardner seemed to enjoy the media attention and created quite a sensation in the British press after the repeal of the Anti-Witchcraft Act. Whether consciously or not, I therefore believe that Gardner drew upon Hindu and Buddhist spirituality and imagery that he was exposed to during his time in the East. In other words, he may have tried to create a Western form of Tantra. The initial motives were most likely centered around his own senses of gratification. So, some further examples. We have the 8 limbs of yoga, yama, the restrictions, nonviolence, honesty, non-stealing, moderation, simplicity, niyama, cleanliness, austerity, doing one's best, asana, yogic postures, pranayama, controlled breathing, pratyahara, focusing within, dharana, concentration or focus, dhyana, meditation, samadhi, unity with the universe. We find that 8, and this is represented again by an 8-spoked wheel like the wheel of the year in Buddhism, in the Eightfold Path. Right outlook, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. And Gardner likewise had an 8-fold system called the Eightfold Path, just like in Buddhism. And this is found in the Gardnerian Book of Shadows, the ritual manual. This includes 1, meditation or concentration. This practice means forming a mental image of what is desired and forcing oneself to see that it is fulfilled with a fierce belief and knowledge that it can and will be fulfilled, and that you will go on willing until the force is fulfilled, calling in short intent, similar to tantric tratika practice or visualization meditation. 2nd is trance and projection of the astral. 3rd, rites, chants, spells, runes, charms, etc. The fourth, incense, drugs, wine, etc., used to release the spirit. 5, dance and kindred practices. 6, blood control, binding with cords, breath control, and kindred practices related to pranayama. The scourge, ritual flagellation, and finally, the great rite. As stated previously in this chapter, Tantra can mean to weave or to shape. The term Wicca was an Anglo-Saxon word meaning male magician. However, modern Wiccans believe the word to mean to shape or to bend. So what does it all mean? The conclusion. Westerners are hungry for something that has been missing in their lives. Happiness beyond materialism and or status, a way to live in harmony with the earth. Safety for women and women feeling empowered and men feeling free to act in a more nurturing manner. The elimination of barriers between sexes, classes, races, and nations. And that's one that was actually a strong part of the tantric movement too, the doing away with caste. Resolution to conflicts between science and spirituality, that was always a big one for me. A spirituality that is psychologically healthier, optimistic toward humanity. A spirituality that is relevant to the present and adaptable for the future. A spirituality that honors accomplishments in a person's wisdom and service, not just his or her bank balance. Religious figures that reflect our humanity. The ability to embrace change, including death, rather than fearing it. And a sense of mission in one's life beyond attaining objects and serving a corporate entity. The important issue is that Westerners in search of healing have been drawn to something very old and powerful. Direct connections are not important compared to the fact that the ideas are still relevant to peoples separated by thousands of miles and numerous centuries, to the point that whether consciously or unconsciously, the same symbols and philosophies are created and utilized. The Divine Mother Kali can therefore teach us the importance of a non-dual and holistic worldview. She helps to access the inevitability of death and all other changes. By meditating on the Divine Mother, we gain an increased awareness of ourselves and the lessons learned through our experiences. We gain the ability to discern what is truly valuable in our lives. We develop courage to challenge our assumptions and accepted beliefs, and we become aware of the consequences of our actions. After healing within, the Divine Mother guides us to becoming healing and transformative agents to the world around us. Thus, we do not simply worship our deity, but in true tantric, and I'll say neo-pagan fashion too, we become our deity. And a final quote: an archetype is like a dry riverbed awaiting only the waters of life to renew it along its original course. And that was written by Carl Jung. So Jema, Jema, Jema. So as many of you might know, I began my spiritual journey in the neo-pagan tradition, beginning in my early 20s in the local pagan community here in Denver. That later evolved into following of Norse or Germanic paganism. And then in 2001, the year I turned 40, I was at a local pagan community gathering at the Spirit Ways Metaphysical Shop out on East Colfax in Denver. And I set my eyes on this very statue of Ma Kali, and there was no going back. No going back at all. And it's been an amazing journey ever since. So once again, Jai Ma. So I'm going to do a short puja. We're going to use a puja mantra common to both the Western and Eastern rites, the mantra Om. And then for our meditation, I'm going to share with you a modern scripture. And that scripture is known as the Charge of the Goddess. It was written by Doreen Valiente, who was Gerald Gardner's high priestess for a number of years until forming her own coven in 1957. And I'm just going to read the introduction to this. This piece is clearly influenced by Leland's Radia, Gospel of the Witches, which is familiar to many Wiccans, and has been suggested, however, that other sections were equally influenced by Aleister Crowley, of whom the following is attributed. And by the way, Crowley also dabbled in Tantra and yogic practices as well. And a couple of Crowley's lines that are related would be, I give unimaginable joys on earth, certainly not faith, while in life, upon death, peace, unutterable rest, ecstasy, nor do I demand aught in sacrifice. And another line of Crowley's, I am life and the giver of life, yet therefore is the knowledge of me, the knowledge of death. So the version that I'm going to be reading is the oldest of the charges. Other pieces with similar names have been modified upon this version of it. So the Charge of the Goddess has been rewritten many times by many authors. This, however, is the original. And many Wiccans consider it as a central piece of their liturgy. So I invite you to find a comfortable position, seated, where you can look upon your screen with a relaxed gaze. Open your breath, begin breathing deeply. Taking some time for grounding, for centering, preparing for our work on this most powerful night, especially for the West, the cusp between spring and summer. We're beginning to see flowers, insects, birds that we didn't see during the winter. Plants growing. And focusing on your heart center, connecting with whichever form of the Divine Mother you feel closest to. And thinking of something that you would like to grow and to enflower with the lengthening of days, the warming of temperatures, the coming of soft rains as we move forward into summer. And let this be your intention for tonight's rite. So I invite you to bring the palms of your hands together at your heart center. And let's begin by intoning the syllable Om 3 times. Inhale. Inhale, Om. inhale. I invite you to join me in the mantra. Om. Om. Jema. 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 So sit comfortably. Let your hands rest comfortably on your knees. Keep your back straight, breathing deeply, and close your eyes. And let these words guide your consciousness. Now listen to the words of the Great Mother, who was of old also called among men Artemis, Astarte, Athena, Dione, Melusine, Aphrodite, Ceridwen, Dana, Arianrod, Isis, Brede, and many other names. Whenever ye have need of anything, once in the month, and better when the moon is full, then shall ye assemble in some secret place, and adore the spirit of me, who am the queen of all witcheries. There shall ye assemble, ye who are fain to learn all sorcery, yet not have won its deepest secrets. To these will I teach things that are yet unknown, and ye shall be free from slavery. And as a sign that you are truly free, ye shall be naked in your rights, and ye shall dance, sing, feast, and make music and love, all in my praise. For mine is the ecstasy of the Spirit, and mine is the joy of the earth. For my law is love unto all beings. Keep pure your highest ideal. Strive ever towards it. Let not stop you or turn you aside. For mine is the secret door which opens the land of youth, and mine is the cup of wine of life, and the cauldron of Caradwen, which is the holy grail of immortality. I am the gracious goddess who gives the gift of joy unto the heart of man. Upon earth I give the knowledge of the Spirit eternal, and beyond death I give peace and freedom, and reunion with those who have gone before. Nor do I demand aught of sacrifice, for behold, I am the mother of all living, and my love is poured out upon the earth. Hear ye the words of the star goddess, she in the dust of whose feet are the hosts of heaven, whose body encircles the universe. I, who am the beauty of the green earth and the white moon among the stars, and the misery and the mystery of the waters, and desire of the heart of man, call unto my soul. Arise and come unto me, for I am the soul of nature, who gives life to the universe. From me all things proceed, and unto me all things must return. And before my face, beloved of gods and men, let thine innermost divine self be unfolded in the rapture of the infinite. Let my worship be within the heart that rejoiceth. For behold, all acts of love and pleasure are my rituals, and therefore let there be beauty and strength, power and compassion, honor and humility, mirth and reverence within you. And thou who thinkest to seek me, know that seeking and yearning shall avail thee not, unless thou knowest the mystery, that if which thou seekest thou findest not within thee, thou wilt never find it without thee. For behold, I have been with thee from the beginning, and I am that which is attained at the end of desire. Jema, Jema, Jema. Om. 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 Jema. 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 So take a deep and clearing breath, letting go of the meditation, bringing the palms of your hands again to your heart center, and acknowledging the Divine Mother's presence within and without, and knowing that she will guide you as these days lengthen and summer unfolds. Slowly opening your eyes. Namaste. Blessings always. Thank you so very much for joining me tonight, and Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so very much for being here, including Mary and Kim and looks like another 4 people that joined us this evening. I invite you to spend some time in quiet meditation before resuming your activities. I also want to thank everybody who may be watching the recording of this later. And I look forward to you joining me on Friday for our Cha practice. And, something about jewelry on the microphone. You know what? I think you see the Rudraksha that's hanging up behind, although that would be an idea. Keep a mala there. Anyway, so glad you were here, and look forward to you on Friday and through next week. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Have a wonderful night, and thank you.